This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I would like to welcome to the show today, Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Any big news this week? Any great cases?
No, but I did just Homeland Security last week. But then 2 days later, or Tuesday, there was a huge article in the Bee about how the government and the U.S. Attorney's Office is using a new tactic to basically eliminate the asylum program. And that's exactly what happened with my client. They basically say if the United States government has an agreement with these other countries that are willing to exchange people, that they don't have to send them back to their own homeland, but they could still deport them to a different country and let them apply for asylum, say from Honduras or somewhere like that.
And so what is the purpose for them taking that away? Obviously, this whole
because they don't like brown-skinned people. I don't know. No,
what does it have to do with brown-skinned person? We've brought in plenty of people from Russia. We've brought in plenty of people from,
Well, here's the deal. Most of the asylum cases are from Latin America because there's a lot of oppressive governments down there.
Right.
And mainly from Central America. This particular woman was from Guatemala.
And what was she running from?
Oppression in Guatemala and fear for her life and her family.
But couldn't anybody just say that and seek asylum, whether it's true or not?
Yes.
So I think
the Guatemala's record on human rights is atrocious. But anyway, she doesn't have a chance to prove it now because they're not going to allow her to even argue that. It's called pre-termination. Yeah. The policy is called pre-termination.
And so what, they're sending them to other countries or back to their own countries?
They'll send them to these other countries, or they can voluntarily depart to their own country.
Gotcha. So they have options, right?
Yeah, but
I know that sucks, but
basically it's going to eliminate asylum.
How long has she been here?
4 years.
Oh, okay. There's so much to think about anymore these days, it seems like.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me into obviously some of the research that I had done this last week, and in my research, it was a class that I was taking on handwriting, and we were talking about the industries that see the biggest percentages of fraud. Which one do you think it is?
What? Because
the largest industry that is defrauded by fraud.
I have no idea.
I kind of giggled at it because it's the insurance company.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which I feel like obviously that's paid protection. That's mafia. That's mob. That's the people who used to loan the mob money, right? Because banks wouldn't do it so that they could get themselves up and running in casinos and doing all that kind of stuff. So when I think about the origin of insurance or paid protection, it emanates from the mob, moves into the unions and then insurances. And oh my goodness, I don't know. I got a tickle out of it simply because how much we've talked about what the insurance companies have done for people like the mob and other nefarious means. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning.
Is that a bubble?
Yeah.
Is it bubble?
I feel like so much is going on lately that I had to change my my logo up a little bit for my channels because it's like it's like chaos and it's like psychotic, like information everywhere, and it's like I don't know, like that's why I was like, okay, I'm going with this for now.
Disinformation.
Yes.
I have like literally taken a break from Facebook for almost a month and a half. It's been very, very limited the amount of time I spend on it, either to promote my show or I wanted to see something that came across by email specifically. But the rhetoric and the the misinformation and the media warfare has got me so like I don't even want to get on anymore because I can't even make it through like 2 posts without seeing some crap that's,
Well, yeah, I've been disconnected with Facebook. But I still have it there, and I get on there, check for it's different, like just to check on friends mostly, once in a while. But once I actually completely like took that step and like literally stopped looking at it all the time and
I feel so
only
much
just
better.
like a couple times a month, it's like you don't even know how like refreshed you feel. It's crazy.
And it's funny you say you were checking on friends, but I received a text message from a friend that I met out in Ireland, and she was like, "Nanette, where have you been? You haven't, been here. You haven't been like posting funny stuff. Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just sick of the freaking political bull crap and the misinformation and all the feeds. I mean, social media is now the biggest. I mean, they say that people pay more attention to social media for their news." Because they don't trust the news, but they don't seem to realize that everything in social media is either AI'd or it's crap, it's rhetoric. In fact, I wanted to talk about that video you just sent me in regards to the ADL because I'm going to climb into that with the Ghosts of Mississippi. But I couldn't. I would love to play these kind of things and send them on, but the problem is that it looks like so many areas have been cut and clipped for it to appear that they're saying the things they're saying that I can't trust it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
He actually did quote on the video that where he got the clips from. He did credit them, whoever shot those videos. So I thought that was a little bit better, assuring, as if it like that's where he got it from. So I could just go back to that, platform to see, just to verify it.
To see how he sourced it.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, the entire gist of it was a technology, the Eighth War is what they're calling it, basically. Spying on people and watching their social media posts and suing people who have podcasts that talks against the ADL or against Jewish people. Like, I don't have a problem with any person, any culture, any race, just the bad people of them. And I know if we just say this, that, or the other, then that kind of clumps and globalizes and includes everybody when there are lots of good people in every race and culture out there. So that's what really kind of got me on the kick with the Ghost of Mississippi, because we just got done talking about how the ADL would make their own hate agenda, right? They would do some propaganda that would get another party upset, somebody would die, then they'd get this other party to go and kill over here, and they were creating this mass chaos that caused everybody who was Jewish to believe if they didn't continue to fund this company and make money for these people, that they would not have any protection. And they'd actually, I want to say in that clip, said they took out a $5 million lawsuit against a podcaster who was speaking out against them.
And I think
that's insane.
Mistakes they make too is to equate any criticism of Netanyahu or Israel and to mean you're anti-Semitic or you don't like Jews. That's not the case whatsoever.
It isn't.
Exactly.
But they're going to turn it into that.
Yeah. They want to paint it. Oh, you're anti-Semitic. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been given a name when I don't hate any of you. I just don't like bad people. I mean, and I speak that very loudly in regards to every culture and race. It doesn't matter what you are. If you're bad, you're bad.
I don't like Yahoos.
I don't like Yahoos.
Tucker Carlson. They do it to Tucker Carlson on a daily. Like, Tucker Carlson has stated many times, he's like, it's not as a whole. It's the ones inside that are corrupt and blah blah blah. So every time he points something out, whether it's about 9/11 or this person doing this crime, they literally will make a post about him, and it's insane. He's like the number one that he's still fighting against it and still speaking his truth about everything in disarray of whatever they say, which is that takes a lot of strength to do.
Do you guys remember that propaganda that they put out? And I want to say it was sometime after 9/11, of course, when they were trying to alleviate the fears of East Indians, because, of course, the United States tried to put this on the East Indians, this, terrorist attack. And so they started taking out things from movies where they were portraying either Jewish people, Black people, or East Indians from looking like they are the villains in movies. Do you remember that stuff that was going on?
I don't.
No.
Do you have a specific movie that maybe?
Well, so for instance, I watched Ghosts of Mississippi. It was made by Rob Reiner, and of course, he just recently passed, right? Yeah, yeah. But obviously, being Jewish in the movie industry, he puts out this movie, Ghost of Mississippi, which was on Medgar Evers.
Medgar Evers, yes.
Medgar Evers.
A civil rights activist who was murdered by a white guy.
And one of the clips was actually a Jewish person saying they didn't like niggers or Jews. And I was like, oh my God. Like, what? Yeah, who puts this? I mean, you're creating that hate facade in this media. You're portraying to people that we should hate these people. They used to portray, Saudi Arabians as these villains on camels with swords.
Oh, now I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And they're devils and they're this and they're that. And this is the media that was doing this. And we're not in charge of the media, but we do know who is. So why would you then put that out there, but then try to take back later? And now you can't even touch a movie where there isn't some Jewish reference that's being pushed at you. Whether it's, they're wearing the yarmulkes or there's the Jewish star behind it, or they're making it extremely clear what their agenda is to promote in these movies. And before it was hatred. And now you want to clean it up and say that we shouldn't be the ones hating? Why would you make a movie like that? Why would you make those statements? I don't understand.
It's like the energy that they feed off of. They feed for that energy, and then once they get you in that state of mind of emotion of anger, then they have you right where they want you.
Yeah, and then
it just gives them that opportunity to lash out to you. It gives them that.
Right, and then if you talk out or speak out against it, now you're an anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
I'm just at a loss for the game that they're playing with us psychologically, but we do know that it is psychological warfare 100%.
100%.
So we had some comments on the show last week that actually came in the comment section of the live show, and it was at Grunge 90s Music. He says, my suspicions tell me Don Chaney after watching the 2007 documentary. Can somebody please tell me the 2000, and I don't know why he said documentary, because I want to say that Zodiac was a movie in 2007, but there could have been more documentaries I haven't watched or didn't catch. But a 2007 documentary.
Good idea to go back and look and see.
Right? See what lies they're telling at that point and how they've changed or evolved over the years. That's kind of what I feel like I do.
That's why I watch every single one, just because of any case, because I'm always trying to see what parallels I can pull out or what changes I can pull out, because that's how you know it's a prime indicator of deception in their story.
Now, and who is Don Chaney? I know that he's somebody in politics, but
oh, Don Chaney. I thought it meant Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney was the vice president, but I don't know who Don Chaney is.
I don't either. So maybe that's a real person and not a politician. I think it was like they were trying to say Chris Christie or Doug Christie or whoever that Christie guy was. Another politician was the Zodiac as well. But anyways, he continues on to say, I feel like he knew he wasn't going to be around for long. I might have to actually now look at Don Chaney, because I saw the last name. I just figured it was a politician. And then at Jacob Schulte 7907, he's the one that commented last week in regards to Jack Terrence not having enough letters to meet the Z13 criteria. And he said, you can do that. Well, I had responded back that Jack actually does fit if you include his middle initial, which he consistently used all of his life. And he says, you can do that with any suspect. Just saying Ed Edwards is 13 characters as well doesn't mean anything. And he's right. It's exactly. It does not mean anything, these solves these people are coming up with, because it's literally, I'm going to show you through this cryptography how impossible it would be unless you actually have the solve to be able to even come to any type of a conclusion in these messages without a key. But what it does mean to me is that I could not rule Jack out. So in my travels through this case, my goal was to hopefully find some piece of information or get some evidence that would support Jack Terrence could not, no way is he the Zodiac. And not only have I not been provided it by all the naysayers like Mike Morford or Tom Boyd or Orange Jack or any of these people who want to, dig Dennis up out of the grave and call him a liar once again for frauding evidence he didn't fraud. Not once have they come out and actually brought me any evidence. And that's what this whole case is supposed to be about. I mean, I'm out here producing it for the public. You're welcome to come in and chime in anytime you like, but show us how it can't be. Don't bash the people who are delivering the message. Because once again, my whole goal was to try and rule Jack out. And every step of the way, all I could do was rule him back in. So
yeah.
It's
funny that they brought up Edward Edwards, because not many people talk about Edward Edwards, and I found a lot of stuff on him, and so that's kind of weird that he points that one out, because I don't see that often.
And I feel like Ed Edwards was somebody that a document examiner in the industry had backed, only he failed to realize that the handwriting he was making the comparison to the Zodiac notes was actually the minister of the wedding, because he was using a marriage certificate that is ultimately never filled out by the parties. They may sign it, but we don't fill it out. It's filled out and officiated by the person who's handling the marriage. So he ended up getting burnt in the butt by that one. It'd be interesting.
Now, Edwards was a very, very prominent criminal. He did kill multiple people. He was he was like a Ted Bundy kind of dude he was like on these game shows on television and just smiling like he's just like a superstar, and then going out and killing people at the same time. So he was definitely
I just don't feel like a serial killer does these type of things. Tell me another one that goes on talk shows. Tell me another one that
exactly.
It just doesn't equate in my mind. Like, you have better things to plan, like your next murder.
Yep.
Oh man.
That's what was like mind-boggling on that one, because if you go back and look up those videos, it's hilarious to watch, because you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What?
And I did see some of them, so. Yeah. All right, so back to Cryptography, the Science of Secret Writing by Jack H. Schultz, a question document examiner who appears to have taught this class. The key that he's using in it is the University of Chicago, which is what we talked about last week. So I always thought that was extremely interesting, since we're talking about Jack. We know that Jack has his experience with Chicago, Illinois. And we know, I'm sorry, Reno, if you're watching this, Illinois. Let me make sure I don't pronounce that S. I mean, damned if I'm, wrong every time there's a letter that doesn't belong in a word. So I had thrown up here because I thought some of these systems were very consistent with the Scorpion letters and the ciphers that were sent to John Walsh. And when I look at these, it's very obvious that there's no duplicative symbols, which is obviously what they talk about when they talk about multi-transposition or multi-substitution ciphers, where they use more than one particular symbol. Say they use 5 different symbols for the letter E. That way you can't map out how many E's are in there, because E being the largest letter in the alphabet, or the largest letter used in the English language, means that you should see more E's, and it would make it easy to crack somebody's code by figuring out how many, what was the largest used symbol in there. That equates to E's. Now you start breaking it down from there. And I'm pretty sure that's how the Hardens did it. They probably went with the notion that, double symbols are going to indicate double letters. And we're going to see that in here. So let me stop talking. It says introductions. Checkbooks, laboratory notes, computer programs, and blueprints are among the many sensitive materials each of us can create and use every day. Naturally, it isn't so much the physical objects themselves which are of value as it is the information each contains. Valuables are most easily lost in transit, and when data is hijacked, it is usually being transmitted or transported at the time. Codes and ciphers were invented to assure the security of information in transit. Historically, there have been hundreds of ways to keep secret the letters and messages of statesmen, generals, and traders. In each era, once a certain level of literacy is reached, cryptology is born anew. In each age, the means of transmitting and guarding information has been determined by the technology of the time. While Julius Caesar used a simple rule of substitution, the Confederate state issued their spy machined brass wheels for enciphering telegrams. This is the computer age. The electronic devices, which are affordable to anyone, make it possible total recall of information and rapid processing of data. They also make it possible the creation of codes so complex yet so simple to use that the social structure of the 21st century will be in part determined by the outcome of this trend toward computerization of all information transfer.
Wow.
Here is one of the, right? And
so we should be able to figure it out at this point, like at this, like, you know?
No, well, I think that's why Orange Hack ultimately developed his computer program where he gave everybody a shot and try at solving the 340. I do see the system inside this packet that I believe Orange Hack claims that the 340 was created with, but wait till you get into this, you guys. This is just crazy. So here's one particular sense, and this is, of course, an entry code. This is a way to disguise numbers. Like if you had a passcode or something like that, you could simply break down the squares after inserting your numbers in the direction you want. And keep in mind, those don't have to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They could run absolutely backwards, 1, 2, 3, and then onward and zigzag, or even move in a pattern that is not consistent with straight left to right reading. And
like a crossword puzzle.
Pretty much. And then once you actually map out those sections of that, what is this, the tic-tac-toe game, right? Let's call it that, because that, for our listeners, it looks like you're starting a game of tic-tac-toe, then you're going to enter a number in each one of these sections. And then once you've determined what your passcode is going to be, you would break those sections off the tic-tac-toe, and you would get like your right angles, your left angles, you get your symbols that look like a staple, and to the left, to the right, and so on and so forth to create that actual code. But again, somebody would have to know that what you're using is this key in order to determine what those were on the other end. Now, when I look at the John Walsh, the scorpion letters, look, here's one of those symbols. Here's another one of those symbols. Here's more. They're kind of all over the place in here. Let's see. There's more down here. So we are definitely seeing this type of a symbol system in the scorpion letters. Now, the Spartan cylinder is, again, we see University of Illinois. Sorry, I said University of Chicago. It's University of Illinois. First type of scientific cryptogram developed by early Greeks is the block pattern. So basically, you go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the left, and then you enter in your alphabet. And in this particular case, the alphabet is actually reading downward. So it doesn't go ABC to the right, it goes ABC down, and then goes back to the top for the F under number 2, and then works its way back down. So it's kind of a zigzag pattern. But again, you could arrange these letters in here however you want. As long as the other side has the key, they're going to be able to figure it out. Basically, the University of Illinois at Chicago broke down to these particular numbers because when you're using an A, you're using the number 11. You're using an F, you're using the number 12. So you're combining the numbers on the left and at the top to create whichever numeric value for that particular letter. And I serves as J. I've seen this before. I'm not sure whose solve it was in. I want to say that it might have been Lauren Swearingham and Harriet's, where they believed I served as J, and I don't know if Harriet has ever personally seen something like this particular pamphlet, because again, it looked like something more personal that somebody had kept versus something that was mass produced.
Is Harriet just self-taught?
Kind of. I think that between learning, Dennis taught her Jack's system. Then okay. Her father was also a maritime they're not civilian. It's military, but he was
Merchant Marine?
Yeah, Merchant Marine, sorry. And so he was aware of some of these things. So she learned some of this, I guess, growing up. And then there was the addition to how Jack did things. And then, of course, in the end, I think that she just kind of picked the system that she felt that Jack would use. But we can see that he didn't always use the same system. So I get a little leery sometimes, especially when we can't prove up how her solves were solved, when she's continuously using exactly the same system instead of multiple systems or different systems. They also have the Caesar's substitution method, which is basically you're going to assign whatever letter to whatever letter that you want it to conceal. And again, you're going to need to know what these letters are substituted to in order to solve that. So there was the Julian cipher here. Here was the Augustan cipher. Then we had substitution code. So it basically showed you how to use words to create a ad, I would guess, in a newspaper to determine what it is that the person is trying to say. So something that in the newspaper would say, "Dear Bill, thanks for the parrot, love Lisa," really broke down to 9 a.m. Saturday, Lakeview Motel.
Okay.
Right? So that's the message you put in the newspaper if you wanted to get it across to the other side. They, of course, then also need to know that Bill equals 9 a.m., Bob equals 10 a.m., Fred equals 11 a.m. They have to know these things.
Okay, so Nanette, that makes me wonder if those numbers I found a few months ago that were on Jack's phone bill that I looked up and found in the newspaper, if those were those type of things where he could call that number and it would give him a message.
And give him the key.
Yes, it would give him some type of key or message, just like you're talking about.
Yeah. That was my supposition. I really kind of thought that if he was making that phone call, first off, he'd have to know that to look for those particular ads. And then second off, he would have to know to call to get the key in order to decipher what that said. I don't know if there's any way to backtrack that. It may be something I play around with after I'm done studying this whole cryptography thing. But aside from the substitution cipher, so we had substitution code and then we have substitution cipher once again, but then they have also how to embed a message from within a book. So a cipher is a system of substitution and or transposition, and Webster's New World Dictionary of American Language, you would code it with the page number, the column number, and the word number. And when I did that and looked this up, so we have page number 257, column 2, word number 12. So you went down 12 words, and guess what? Boom, you come up with the definition in the Webster's New World Dictionary of American Language that tells you about a cipher and its purposes. This is how they would use books then. You get a numerical value that includes page number, column, if there's columns, I'm sure, and then the word number. So you're going to go down, and that, I think that alludes to the FBI making the comment that there was the first and last word of these messages from the Zodiac that they were looking at to create what Lawrence Swearingham did after he collected every even line. He collected the first and last word of it and came up with a message that talked about basically MK Ultra needing more work and these other things that he solved out of that. So that is very consistent with some of these systems again. Here's another one. This is the position cipher. Again, it starts with a tic-tac-toe, but then you have these additional X's that are included. You also have them with dots arranged inside of the tic-tac-toe. And then you again have the X that has the dots positioned in it. Now, once you fill out in each area of the tic-tac-toe and the X marks, you fill out the actual letters. Again, you have to know where these letters lay in here in order for it to make any sense. Otherwise, you're still not going to come up with anything. But now you can see how they pull these out. So we have this staple mark. It looks like a staple to me with a dot in the center. And that comes from the tic-tac-toe that had dots in it. Now, let's take a look again at the ciphers to John Walsh. And we can clearly see all of these. Here's these X marks again with dots at different levels inside of them. And you can go through and you can find them pretty much all over here. I want to say there's also, let's see. Oh, here's the leftward facing V with the dot in the center. That is definitely one of the symbols that are used in this particular ciphering message. So now we can see that there's at least two different styles of cipher coding that's been used in John Walsh's stuff. And we also see some consistency with some of the stuff that we're seeing in the Donna Lass, which even more confirms that if this was a reward letter that is to reach out to somebody you could only be asking the suspect to solve this particular thing. Nobody else in the public was going to be able to solve this. I don't even know if I've seen a solve on this other than Lauren Swearingham and Harriet. So they are definitely communicating with a system that they are completely aware of, that they know he has as well. And again, this tells me that the media is facilitating back and forth between the Zodiac and the powers that be. Here's another one. This is another one I went, whoa, we have position and shadow ciphers. So it looks like a clock, does it not?
Yeah.
Got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 all the way around. Made me want to go back and visit the different positions and markings on the Zodiac symbols that we saw. But it also got into these other odd boxes. So it looks like a 4 square. And then these 4 squares could actually have slants in them that would create the V's in different directions. And it breaks the box up into multiple different ways of being able to use just these box symbols for all the letters of the alphabet. And then I moved to the right and I about fell out of my chair because this is the booze ball system that was not available to the public. It was Alan, I want to say Hayes, but I don't know if I'm right. Booze. It was a 3-name war defense company that used these particular symbols as a way to indicate whether or not their contracts, what level their contracts had been completed. So if you go, and so some of these areas that look like they're chunked out of the circle would actually be colored in and darkened. Here, they're just giving you kind of a stick figure version of it with no blackening of any of the sides. But let's go back over here now to, once again, John Walsh's cipher. Look here, guys. We've got all of the booze ball systems that was used originally in the Zodiac ciphers, but now we see them popping up in John Walsh's ciphers as well. That makes system number 3, and in reality, system number 4, because this 4 square boxes that we see going on here, we can see right here. Here's a 4 square box with 2 dots in it. Here's another, but it's got an X with 2 dots. So it's still, we see X's in these. Yeah. So now we're on to, what did I just say? Now we're on to number 4. 4 different systems of symbols that are being used in this single cipher. Here's another one, which I do think that there is some credibility in this as far as the triangles are concerned with the different dots, because we see different triangles that have dots on the points. We have slash mark through one left side. We've got them with dots on the points and then a dot in the center. So there is kind of this new pyramid code that I was looking at, which then allocates a letter to each level of the pyramid. And then you encrypt that with the double letter that is found inside the box. So the D is actually AN. This makes it even more complicated to determine what the author's saying, because now he's used double the amount of symbols in order to create a message that's only half its size. And again, without that key, I can't imagine anybody being able to figure that out.
Yeah.
We have double transposition. So here it gets even heavier. When K1 is, here's the cipher key from K1. And then you have to go down here and find, let's see where I would find K1. Oh, I could have marked that out ahead of time. Oh, no, this is saying University of Illinois at Chicago. So that was a little bit larger. Okay, so here's the encryption. So here's the message, University of Illinois at Chicago, and it breaks down to, once you use the system that they've plotted out up here, into these letters, which again mean absolutely nothing. And what if the person doesn't even break them up? You wouldn't even know it was a 5 square box or a 6 square box. Because this, when we look at the Zodiac stuff, it's all combined. It doesn't give us a break or a space. It doesn't tell us when we should start and stop and carry on with another word. Again, just very complicated. Then we have multiple cipher substitution code, which we talked a little bit about in the beginning of this. And here's your plain text at the top, which is your alphabet. But then you've got cipher 1, cipher 2, cipher 3, cipher 4. So you have 4 different letters for the letter A. Q, Z, L, T. Now it's going to make finding those A's far more complicated because they've been assigned 4 different symbols. We also have routing patterns. So you have the simple horizontal that moves from left to right, or from right to left, or from bottom to top. Again, left to right, and then right to left from bottom to top in the simple horizontal. Simple vertical just runs down the column. So A, B, C, D move back to the top to E, but this can also be backwards as in number 2. And it can also run from bottom to top and top to bottom again in 3 and 4. Alternate horizontal, which is basically moving in the same direction, but then backwards, almost as if, well, I haven't seen anything in here where they actually transpose the actual symbol, which we've seen the Zodiac do a lot of, reverse the R, reverse the K, reverse the P, this kind of thing. But it does have the alternate horizontal, which moves in a completely different pattern. You also have what they call the mind reading word code. I thought this one was extremely interesting. So you literally assign a word to a letter. So A equals you, as in YOU, B equals how, C equals now, D equals the. So by the time you've messaged out University of Illinois at Chicago, it says our all, who for, hit not, may, who, get, put, has all. Now, of course, they're very nice and they give us the spaces. I don't think you'd see this in a typical cipher, but whole, let, who, all, has, whom, may, you, get, now, act, who, now, you, was, has. You get that message and have to have the key in order to determine that it says University of Illinois at Chicago. Then we have alphabet blocking. And that blocking can happen on any level. This one is actually a 5 by 5. This one that we see here is a 9 by 9, but the downward motion gives you actually 3 options. So A could be 31, it could be 61, it could be 91. And that gives you multiple substitutions options there. And then as well, you can see here, they've taken some of the most used letters in cryptography, and they've assigned 6 different numerical values to it so that it can literally read 91, 81, 71, 61, 51, 41 for the letter E. And then on the second line, the second most used letters are assigned 2 different symbols. And then finally, the least used symbols are assigned 1 number value altogether. So P would be 11, Q would be 12, so on and so forth down the line with those last letters.
So it seems like to me this is very, this is like the same kind of pattern used in gematria when you have the alphabet, and then you have these the numbers that are assigned to each letter in order to create. So like you have like a certain name, like I could put your name Nanette into the gematria system, and it would create different things like almost kind of like not. Sometimes it's sentences, sometimes it's phrases, things like that. So that's another cryptic software. I was kind of seeing if you're going to go over that, if he had that in this book about gematria.
Wait, I was just going to say, sometimes you read my mind and sometimes you're 2 steps ahead of me. I do. Okay, so we also have in the cryptography, we have mathematical code. So A equals 1 to 10. B equals 11 to 20, so on and so forth and on down. And then once you add those numbers up, it comes out with an overall total. This one I didn't quite understand to be able to explain as well, but I do get the gist of, so no, maybe I don't get the gist.
So A would be 1, B would be 2.
It says like A equals 1 to 10. That was different than the numbering system. This one is the mathematical code. It's going to take me a second to work this one out. I think I threw it in here just because Jack was into math huge. The other system was kind of what you were just talking about. So they are actually sending you a letter. And this letter says, Arnold, dear, it was good news to hear that you have found a job in Paris. Anna hopes you will soon be able to send for her. She's very eager to join you Now the children are both well, Sonia. So now, once you break this down, let's see, in cipher 33, I thought I had this one down, and deer was 5.
Yep. So you add up the numbers. Yep.
The number of letters, and
Yep.
you get 3. And so a 3 would have to be the combination. Let's see. 3, 3, 5. But see, again, it also has a break and a split in the words where you're stopping. So again, you would have to have that key to know where those stops and splits are. Now, I about was like, oh my goodness, the solve to this. So where we just talked about Arnold deer, and the kids are good, and when they want to join you in Paris, the message that this yields is need money for assassination. Right? This guy also did one on paper, and I was laughing because
I can do it on paper for you, and I'll send it to you for the next show.
Okay, so
because I've learned it.
Well, he's talking about the same author that did this also did one on paper, and the things that a document examiner would want to know about paper. And he had mentioned that you could weigh the paper to see. So if somebody made a 5-page trust or will, and somebody swapped a page out, there's a good chance that the weight of the paper will not be identical, especially if it's a much later date, because our paper was thicker back in the day. We've learned how to make it thinner so we can get more pieces into a ream. Thus, if somebody used a today's type paper compared to paper from 2000, 1980, somewhere around there could be a weight difference. And he says you can weigh the paper to determine if it has the same weight. And he marks on the side of that drug scale.
So anything that has a number could give you a message.
No. What I was just saying, I was just laughing that he obviously must have also been in with law enforcement or a government trained document examiner for some of the things that he was talking about. I've never been told in all the years that I've done this, you can usually feel the weight difference in papers. So weighing them has never really been something on my mind until I saw this. But the fact that he said use a drug scale.
Oh yeah.
When I do estate planning documents, I like to use my letterhead paper because it's heavier. And you can tell it's heavier and thicker.
And even safer is to put in the diagonal watermarks that do not, they have watermarks that have an algorithm that the photocopier will not pick up. Thus, it is not seen and cannot be copied, so somebody else cannot imitate it. Also, it could have an embedded watermark. You can buy bond paper that has embedded watermarks, or you can create your own and ask for that to be made. And of course, you can't see that watermark until you put it on a light table, and then you can see the image of whatever that watermark is. There's a lot of ways to fraud proof your documents. I think I'm going to blog on that here shortly.
Yeah, like a prescription, like when your doctor gives you a prescription, it's
that's a heavyweight paper, and that's a security paper for a reason. Yes, absolutely. Those are not coming out on just standard paper. So now we have additional block versions, which this is where I said that there's a possibility that I think Orange Chat called it period 19 for the 340 cipher as he solved it, but I couldn't get it to work out. And there were still too many problems and issues with the system that he used to allow for an easy solve for somebody else to duplicate. But here's other alternate block versions. There's an alternate vertical. There are diagonal routes. So the diagonal route is the one that Orange Chat claimed to have done. The period 19 was a diagonal starting with the top left-hand corner and then moving directly downward or directly to the right and then downward. Either way, it moves through the pattern in a spiral or a snake-like design as it makes its way all the way out to the end. But then you need it to be even. I would think you would need it to be a 5x5, a 6x6. So I'm going to have to go back and look at the 340 and see if we have equally across the top and straight down in order for this type of design to work out. And I think that's where the confusion came in with me, is that his numbering system of what letter belonged where did not work out that way. There were some outliers. There were ones that did not fit into the program. And then there were just plain old words I think he just threw in there because it didn't say anything. There's alternate diagonal and there's spiral routes.
Yeah. I would be curious to see someone do one like an active one. Like maybe we can do one actively.
Yeah, that would be fun. So we also have simple vertical and clockwise. So you're working around in a circle clockwise until you make it to the center. This particular clockwise one says, suppose our message is enemy plans attack at dawn. It is going to be MAKT, amen, EYNT, AWNG, DCAL, PSAT. So that's the final transmission format, the letters that would absolutely in that clockwise pattern make up. And it says the italic letters G and M are nulls. So here's what I found interesting is that Terry B talked about nulls. So I'm going to have to figure out what nulls mean in cipher, but I'm thinking that they mean nothing or they account. No, it can't. Well, maybe it does. I would have to see AWNG. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the G is a null and the word is at. So I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and look at that one too. There's also a zigzag cipher. So basically you're working, and I feel like the zigzag is nothing more than the snake-like movement, but it goes up, down, up, down, up, down to get the actual answer. So it's basically making it look like that these are just a bunch of nonsensical letters that are put together over the top of each other. When you actually read it in that up-down position, you were able to decode it. University of Illinois at Chicago. It said, I is a null in this particular case. So again, we come across nulls. There's the rail fence cipher. I think this image here on the rail fence cipher is what I took to mean that Orange Hack had done, but it still moves in the same pattern as we looked at those other winding ones. And it depends on how you create the grid. So the grid, here's a 13 by 2 grid, here's a 2 by 13. So that would mean we would need to go back and look at the 340 and see what the grid pattern was in order to determine which direction everything goes. There's also diary code. University of Illinois at Chicago, insert W, X, Y, or Z between each word. And then encipher the message using the vertical block route. Very interesting. Here's another. Perpetrators of computer crime frequently have been successful not because of their superior talents, but due to obvious breaches of security. So here's another substitution cipher. We also have a frequency table worksheet that gives you dash marks for the actual letters themselves, and you would mark that out in order to determine what letter you were using in that. And it, of course, gives a numerical value. So the letter frequency distribution is step number 3. And then how to write an unbreakable code. Begin with a cipher, it says, and then message. Then take a table of random numbers and equate those random numbers to that cipher. The sums are transmitted as a new set of random numbers, and then you have the encryption, and it shows you how to do it. They've even got this little one down here, a one-time pad of the type used by international espionage agents for writing messages in unbreakable codes. Each page of random numbers is used once and then thrown away, hence the designation one-time pad. Oh, I really thought we'd finish this, but I know it's going to take a little longer for this last slide, and we are down to our last minute. So I would welcome you guys to make any comments that you would like to make for our last minute.
Well, I think that this all leads to military, obviously.
Yes.
And we see that Jack has that military background, as every single one of the serial killers in creation is literally has a military background. I was just telling my husband about this the other night. Every crime show I literally watch, I always make sure to note if there's a military background, and there's just like no way around it. Yeah, and it's like, wow, this is like a whole plan. Like they have these, and then we have these plans right here that you're going over, like different plans, different ciphers, different coding, and it's all.
Wouldn't that takes me back to Sherry Jo Bates and Patricia Hout's letter? Wouldn't the story about a boy, designed killer, basically, the blueprint for a boy turned killer, be more interesting? And obviously, who better than the military to create those type of blueprint killers? Yeah, so I just want to say that in the John Walsh cipher, we are looking at 4 or 5 completely different systems. It would be astronomical for somebody to have ever figured that out, but I'm sure they have. They haven't released that to us because they don't want us to know that they have solved those
Another
versions.
reason why they haven't released a lot of things is because they already know the answer.
Yeah. All right, you guys, that's it. We're up. Time's done. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Whatever. We'll see y'all next Friday. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Take care, and thank you both for being here.
All right, bye.
Yep. Bye.